the, particularly the First Lady's anti-obesity initiative.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in your take on that. I know you've defended her to some of the critics, but as someone who launched his own anti-obesity drive to, as I recall, rather good press, why do you think it's been greeted the way it has been? Has it been something in the way that it's been presented to the public? Is it just a symptom of our politics today that you can't do anything that's viewed as nonpartisan?
You know, Rick, unfortunately, I think a lot of it is because she's the one presenting it, and that's why I've been defensive of her. I still think that her approach is the right one. I do not think that she's out there advocating that the government take over our dinner plates. In fact, she's not. She's been criticized unfairly by a lot of my fellow conservatives. I think it's out of a reflex rather than out of a thoughtful expression. And that's one of the things that bugged me most about the political environment of the day. We don't have to believe that everything the other side proposes is immediately and altogether bad. And the reason I have been very vocal, even doing an event with her and publicly speaking out for her initiative, is because it is exactly what Republicans say they believe, that you put a focus on individual responsibility, you encourage people to make good choices, and you reward them for doing so. I thought that's what we were about. She does not, in the Let's Move campaign, dictate what families do with their own children. She doesn't say you can't have a cookie, you can't have a birthday cake. That's not anywhere in her program. The one thing that I think she's been criticized for, maybe by some, is that she's asking for, insisting upon, or are pushing for that school lunches and school breakfast offer healthier choices. Well, the federal government's already spending that money. You know, we can argue whether or not you ought to have a school breakfast. It's a point I make in the book. I talk about the whole school breakfast program. But the conclusion is, if you don't feed these kids, it's the only food they're going to get. But if you're going to feed them, we've already made that decision. And if USDA is going to subsidize the food that goes into their plates, then shouldn't it be healthier food? And here's a couple of things that are pretty startling. 75% of the kids who are recruit age for the military cannot pass the physical because they're obese by Army standards. Now, if you really want to talk about obesity, let's talk about it as a national security issue. It's an economic issue, but it is a national security issue because at the trend we're going, we better hope we don't have a war with anybody, because we're not going to have anybody who can pass the physical to wear the uniform. That's pretty scary. So rather than us condemn Michelle Obama, I think we ought to be thanking her and praising her for what she's done. And